Hi and welcome to the first PowerEgg tutorial on Microsoft Fabric. Today we will be taking our first steps with Microsoft Fabric, which includes data ingestion, data transformation and data distribution. We will start off by manually uploading an Excel file to OneLake using the Lakehouse and then starting a data flow that transforms the Excel file and loads it back as a table into the Lakehouse. After that, we will be using the transformed table and load it into the Lakehouse as a Parquet file format. Then we will load both the transformed Lakehouse table and the Parquet version of that table into a warehouse as tables. We then have one case where users can either create a Power BI dataset and a Power BI report connected directly to the Lakehouse table, or do the same thing but connected to the warehouse. So we have two user groups in the end, and we're distributing data to these two user groups. Nearly all of this will be controlled by an automated pipeline. So let's have a look at what we're going to build. But before I show you, make sure to subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with the latest Fabric videos I will be publishing. Okay, so welcome to Microsoft Fabric. Here we have our first pipeline, and this pipeline is going to do the following. It is first starting off with a data flow that takes the Excel file we manually uploaded into the Lakehouse OneLake, and it is transforming it and then as a destination loading it back into Lakehouse as a Lakehouse table. Right? From there we can create a Power BI dataset and a Power Report. However, after this is completed, we start another phase, and in this phase we are loading that table into a warehouse. Of course, the warehouse, the Lakehouse, I already created those things, so I can just build this pipeline, but we are going to start from scratch in this video after I demonstrate what we're going to build. So stay tuned for that. But basically, what the next step does is it takes the source, which is the AdventureWorks Lakehouse table. So we have the table here, which is the transform table. And as a destination, it is loading it into a data warehouse. And it is, if there is no table, it is auto-creating that table. And we define the table name and so on. And after that is completed, we start another phase, and in that phase we create a Parquet file format of that table in the Lakehouse and load it back into the Lakehouse as well. So let's have a look at this. We have the source here, which is the Lakehouse table, and then again it is loading right now that we can see here AdventureWorks transformed. We can also preview the data, which is great. And as a destination, we also have inside the workspace the Lakehouse again, and we are here. You can see we are loading it back as a file, and then we can choose here the file format. It's kind of difficult to see, so let me make this bigger. The file format, and here we have a choice of how we can save it. And in this case, I chose the Parquet file format because, in my opinion, this will be the new file format going forward in Fabric. And after that is done, we are loading this Parquet file format into the data warehouse as well. So we have two tables in the data warehouse. One where I loaded the table from the Lakehouse directly into the warehouse, but another one where I'm showing that you can also load a Parquet file format directly as a table into the warehouse, which is great. Okay, so let's have a look at this, how it's going to look in the end. I found the best way of navigating inside Fabric is by simply going to your workspace and then using the filter on the top right to filter what you want to view. And in this case, I want to view my Lakehouse first. So I click on Lakehouse and I see all my three Lakehouses. One is a data flow staging Lakehouse, which is created from the pipeline because I have staging activated. And another one is another Lakehouse I created. However, I'm going to use the one I promoted. And I also marked as a favorite. I'm gonna go to the AdventureWorks Lakehouse I created. And in this Lakehouse, we go to Files, and we can see here The first one, the one at the bottom, is the Adventure Works product and description status log file I uploaded, which is an Excel file. It's very small, and it definitely needed some data transformation. So right here, there's not much we can do. We cannot save it as a table. If you have a Parquet file here, you can directly save it as a table here manually. But in this case, we're going to do this all automated. So the end result is this pipeline creates a table, right? It does a data flow and it transforms the data. And this is how the data looks after it's been transformed. So you can see it's very neat. And then in the end, we have some more product data without any status date. So the status update date is something I added manually in the Excel file to test it out. And that table then gets loaded into the AdventureWorks warehouse. And again, for the first navigation step, I would go back to my workspace to find this warehouse. So I can click on warehouse and I can see my AdventureWorks warehouse. Again, I've marked it as a favorite and I can open it up. And then we can see that in this warehouse, we already have two tables created. So I've already run the entire flow, but the entire pipeline. But we can see here that this is the one, the AdventureWorks transformed one, is the one that's going to be loaded into this warehouse directly from the Lakehouse table. All right. And then the second version is where if I go back, so now because I went to the warehouse, a quick access list appears here on the left, right? So I can now quickly switch between my instances, but there's another way you can navigate. It's here, so I can pick whatever section I want to be in. This doesn't really make much difference because here you can just directly go to it. So it's faster. And if I go back to the Lakehouse and I view the files, we can see here there's an AdventureWorks file. This is a Parquet file, even though here the type is not recognized, okay? This is in preview. Fabric is in preview. That means not everything is working perfectly yet. So we have a type unknown, but this is a Parquet file. And the reason it is a Parquet file is if we go back to the pipeline and we check it here, you can see that as the destination, I've chosen the Parquet file format to save it. So I can guarantee you this is a Parquet file, even though it is currently at least not visible that it is recognized as such. However, so we go back to the Lakehouse, we can see here we have the Parquet file, and I wanted to show you that in this last stage, I'm loading the Parquet file into the warehouse. And if we go back to the warehouse here, we can see that here we have the AdventureWorks Parquet file table, which is automatically created. So to demonstrate how this solution works, or to prove that it works, I'm going to quickly drop these two tables. So in the warehouse, this is very nice. We can just write an SQL line. So I've done no coding whatsoever to fully automate this pipeline and do all the work. But to demonstrate it, I have to at least write one line of code, TSQL, where I just drop the table. So I'm going to run this. And this should be very quick. So it's already completed. And as you can see, you still see the files here, right? Even after it refreshes. So let's just switch view. Let's go back to the Lakehouse and then go back to the AdventureWorks warehouse. And now we can see that in fact the tables are not here any longer. So if I click on tables in my database schema, I cannot find any tables, right? I want to take this one step further because I want to show the entire pipeline working. I'm going to delete the Parquet file. So I'm going to delete this, right? And then I'm going to lastly also delete the table within this Lakehouse, okay? So I'm going to delete this as well. Okay, so now we have a pretty clean way of working. We only have the Excel file. And I'm going to show you this Excel file just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. Okay, so this is the Excel file. You can see we have a product ID, we have a name, but the name has some fields missing, as well as the product model, the culture ID, And the status update, I've added here a date, which I'm going to change now to show you that it will work. I'm going to change it to 25. And then we have a blank status. So I also wanted to transform this. So in the transformation process, I'm filling this out with a default value. And then here I'm doing also a fill down. So I'll be doing a fill down in all of these fields and for the entire document. And for the rest, I'm just replacing the null status with the default status. All right, so let's upload this file into the lakehouse. Okay, so I'm in my lakehouse. I'm going to click on get data, upload files. Here we can upload files. I'm going to my files and I'm going to pick the file. Okay, and now that I've picked the file, you can see that it says this file already exists. I'm going to click overwrite if files already exist. I'm going to click upload, and again, look how quickly this was nothing, right? There wasn't much data in it, so it very quickly uploaded it. We have completed the upload with the changed data, right? I've changed the date there, the last one, to demonstrate this, and now we're going to. So this was the only manual step we'll have. Then we go to the Adventure Works pipeline, and we're going to run this whole thing, okay? And if I click anywhere here in the blank, I can see the output of my runs, and it's going to refresh every 20 seconds unless I manually refresh it. So let's run this. You can see last time when I ran it, it took about three and a half minutes or something. The longest one was the data transformation, the data flow. Then the data copying took 50 seconds, 24 seconds, 43. So this should be pretty quick and fully automated, right? No line of code. So let's go. Let's run this. Okay, and you can see now this got queued already. If I refresh this, you can see it is already in progress. So let me pause the video, and once it's done, I'll come back. Okay, we can see now that this succeeded. It took 1 minute and 49 seconds. And now if I refresh this a couple of times, we should also see the other exceeds. So I'm gonna pause this again. Great, and now we see the next stage succeeded. So loading the data into the warehouse, that table that we transformed succeeded. So right now we are creating the parquet file. That should be pretty quick as well. Okay, so I refreshed, it already succeeded, 17 seconds. And now we are loading the parquet file into the warehouse. So let's have a look if that succeeded. So it is still queued. So let's pause. Okay, now it is in progress. So now it should be pretty quick. And let's refresh this a couple of times. Great, and now we have success. So this pipeline ran perfectly fine without any errors. And let's have a look now at what we've done. So we go to the lakehouse, and in the lakehouse I should see the parquet file. So I can see that there's a new file here, the parquet file, and I can see that the transform table is here. So let's have a look. I added here a new date, 2025. We can see here that it is in there. So I changed it in the Excel, uploaded it, and transformed everything, and now we can see that the file is here. So let's go to the warehouse and see if we have both tables now also available in the warehouse. So in clicking on warehouse, I go to my schema, I go to DBO, and I open up my tables. And yes, we can see that here we have both our tables again with the new date, and then we have the one from the parquet file, and that one worked as well, right? So very smooth, very fast, and very powerful from what I see right now from Fabric. All right, so let's get started. We're going to do the full thing, and the first thing we need to do is to create a workspace. So I'm going to click on workspaces, and I'm going to create a new workspace. I'm not going to create a deployment pipeline, that's too complex for the moment. I'm going to call this Adventure Works. And I'm not going to put a description. Assigned to a domain is fine. There's no domain or anything like it. And we're going to have here the trial version for Microsoft Fabric. So that's fine. I'm going to click apply. And now we have a workspace. That's great. And the first thing I want in my workspace is a lakehouse. I want to be able to upload the Excel file, so I'm going to click on lakehouse, and I'm going to name this Adventure Works Demo Lakehouse. And we cannot have, sometimes we can have set bases, sometimes we can't, so you always have to check where you can create one and where you can't. So now it's creating the lakehouse, and look how quick this is. Okay, just insane. So I'm going to click on upload files. I'm going to select the file again. This is the Excel file that I'm going to upload that I showed you earlier. Alright, so I've added the file. I'm going to click upload. This should, okay, this is done now. So we're going to go back. If I click on files, it should be here. It's perfectly fine, it's there. And then we need a warehouse in order to give a destination for, because we're going to create a pipeline, and for the pipeline to fully work, I need all my destinations first, right? Where the data is going to go. So I'm going to go back to the Adventure Works workspace, and I'm going to create new, and here I can now create a warehouse. So a warehouse, and I'm going to call this Adventure Works Warehouse Demo. Okay, it might also be not a bad idea to mark what this is, because yes, you can see the logo, the icon, but yeah, sometimes it's nice to have it in the title as well, because the workspaces are going to grow, right? We now have all these new products that are within Fabric, and Fabric is this one new great product, but the workspace is going to fill up. Every time you do staging, there's going to be an artifact, and you will have data sets, Power BI files, data flows, pipelines, all kinds of things. And to stay organized, I'm still trying to figure this out, how to stay organized, but basically this is what I found. So let's have a look at the DBO. We have this is all automatically created, right? So we now have a warehouse, and there are no tables in there, there's nothing. So we can either create a table with TSQL, we can get data with a new data pipeline, which is what we're going to do, or we can just use a sample database. But in this case, we want our own data, so let's go back to the lakehouse. We have the files here, so now we need to create a pipeline. All right, so let's go back to the workspace, and again, I could navigate between these to create these new things, but I found that the quickest way is just to go to your workspace, and then you have the option for everything anyways, right? So I'm going to create a data pipeline, and I'm going to name this Adventure Works Pipeline Demo. I'm going to click on create. Okay, so now it is loading. Okay, perfect, that was quick. So the first step we had is to transform the data, right? So let's create a pipeline activity, and let's create a data flow, and we're going to call this Adventure Works Transformation Demo, and no description. We can always check what's in advanced. Okay, so we have retry interval and secure input output, but we're going to go to the settings, and we don't have a data flow. Okay, so I'm going to create a new one. I click new, and we are in the same window, same browser, right? No switching apps, nothing. Super intuitive, everything. So we have here, so let's get our data, right? So we click get data, and then we go in more, and on more we have the Microsoft Fabric tab, and in here we can choose the lakehouse as a source. I'm going to choose the lakehouse. I'm going to click next. This is going to create the connection sign-in, and now I can see here we have the Adventure Works workspace, and we have the demo lakehouse. Okay, and in here we have files. I'm click on files, I'm going to open this, I'm going to click this file. Okay, so this is going to be the Excel file, so we have to transform this. So I'm going to click create, and it's going to do some navigation steps automatically to get this Excel file. And now I can just see already the Excel file. I have to open up the data from sheet 1. Promoted headers, look at this, everything happening automatically. All right, and now let's do some transformation. I'm going to select these, and I want to do a fill down on these. So I'm going to click transform, and then I'm going to click fill, and then fill down. This is going to fill the data automatically for me. Perfect. Now on the status, I do want to replace the status blank or null. I want to replace null. So I want to find null, and I want to replace it with the default status, okay? Because this was the default state of the product. So I'm going to click this, click OK. Okay, this is fine. And now we're going to add a destination. So we can go back to home and click add destination here. We also have at the bottom right the option to click add destination. So I'm just going to click it at the bottom right. And if I click it here, you can see that I have 4 options at the moment. I have Azure SQL Database, I have Azure Data Explorer, I have Azure Synapse Analytics, but I have Lakehouse. All right, I want to do this all in Fabric, so I'm going to choose the Lakehouse. I'm going to load it back into the Lakehouse, right? We're going to take this Excel file, transform it, and load it as a table into Lakehouse. And we're going to call this Adventure Works Transformed and Demo, right? And now we have to choose a destination. So wait, copy this just in case. And we're going to choose the destination here. And the table name. And look, it will say a new table will be created. So all of this again automatic. Click next, and now it says how do we want to update this, right? If it is existing data, do we want to append it? So we can also make a continuous addition to data, right? So if I have an Excel file in there where I just want to add one more line, I can create an Excel file with just one more line of data, and if I choose append here, it will just add it to my table. But in this case, I want to create new data, so I'm going to click replace, and then we have a little icon here. It says column name. It says here some columns may contain unsupported characters. Should we fix this for you? And it says in the date, right? So I'm just going to click fix, because why not? It's just going to fix the dates for me, and I've tried this. It works. It's I don't have to do anything. I just click OK. So again, save settings. All right. This is going to save but not run our data flow. So if I click publish, now it's going to go public. It's going to go into my workspace, and at the same time it's going to do an automatic run. Okay, and you can see here I named this is called data flow 1. So I did a bad naming convention. I should rename this, but it is currently still running, so I can't rename this. So let's let this run, and what should happen now, if I go into the Lakehouse, it should create a table, right? So let's have a look. We can see there's no table yet, so we're just gonna wait until this flow is finished, and then we're gonna have a look again. Okay, so the wheel has stopped turning. I can now rename this. I'm going to go, let me see if I can do this in the settings. I can't, so let's go back. And let me go to the data flow itself, and I think up here I can edit it. So yes, I can just rename this Venture Works Data DF Demo. Okay, now I just click anywhere and it will save it. I'm going to just no, I'm not going. Okay, well, I've published this again now, so hopefully it will not refresh. Okay, it will refresh again. However, it already refreshed, so let's go to the Lakehouse, And then we can see that the table is already here. So the table has already been created in the lakehouse and it's been transformed. Okay, so this worked. So the first stage of the pipeline is finished. So let's go back to the pipeline, and you can see there's a little dot up here. That means I think that means that the pipeline is not saved yet. Okay, so let me validate this. Okay, and data flow transformation, data flow is required. Okay, so this data, oops. Oh yeah, I haven't chosen the data flow yet, right? So I'm going to refresh this. And now I can see the AdventureWorks data flow I created. So I'm going to click this and save this. Okay, we don't need to run this. I already ran the data flow. So we have the table. So now in theory, we can already do the next step and take that table to the warehouse. And this seems like a logical step to do now. You could also do first the Parquet file transformation, but I don't know. I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to click a copy data phase. And in here, I'm going to rename this. So it's a good practice to describe what this step does. So in this case, I am taking the transformed, I'm going to just wait, transformed and data lakehouse LH table to warehouse. Okay, that should be fine. I'm going to define a source now. The source should be the workspace, because in the workspace we have the lakehouse. And now I'm going to select a lakehouse. So this is the demo lakehouse. And now I can choose here files or table. In this case, I want the table. So I can just choose the table because the table is there. If we want, we can preview the data. In the advanced option, I can give it a timestamp. I can give it a version. So that's also very nice. And now I have to define a destination. So I'm going to choose the data warehouse in the workspace, and I'm going to pick my warehouse, and now I'm going to click auto create table. All right, and the schema name is DBO. We have already seen in the warehouse that the schema name is DBO, sorry, and I'm going to name this table AdventureWorks transformed. Whoops. And now that should be fine. Advanced, we can create some more values. I haven't tried this out yet, and we can't do any mapping here, so there's no mapping. And then we have enable staging enabled, right? Because this is necessary. So let's already say that on completion of the workflow of the data flow, let's copy this data. Okay, now it's going to copy this data, but let's not stop there. Let's keep going. Let's finish this whole thing. Let's click add to canvas, and the next step is create Parquet file in lakehouse, and we're going to pick the source again, workspace lakehouse. And I'm going to just make this a bit bigger. Okay, and the AdventureWorks demo is the lakehouse, and in this case I want the table AdventureWorks advanced. I can do a timestamp or something, but the destination I want also to be the lakehouse AdventureWorks, but I'm going to transform it into a file. And in this file I can now do the path, so I can see that there is no file here, but I can choose the path already. I'm just going to click this, click OK, and you can see that it didn't do a path, so it's blank, and then I can just choose a name. All right, so I'm going to call this AdventureWorks Parquet. Okay, and the file format, this is the where the magic happens. I'm going to choose a Parquet file format. Now we have some advanced options. We can add some metadata. not gonna do that. Again, go to the settings, make sure staging is enabled. Okay, and now this one we are also going to trigger after completion. Okay, so we've step 1, step 2, step 3, and then after this is done, and the funny part is this is not there yet, okay, but I can already define the next stage. Okay, and I can define the next stage, and let me see if this works. I'm going to copy this destination. Okay, and here I'm going to say load parquet into warehouse. Okay, and the source again is the workspace lakehouse, and this time it's going to be a file. Okay, so I'm going to click file, and the file isn't there yet, but I'm gonna put the file name because the file name is going to be there, but it is not there yet. So I can already define the file name, because if I trigger this after this is completed, the file will be there and it will be able to work, right? So the destination, I wanted the warehouse as well, and I wanted the warehouse, I picked the warehouse I want, and I wanted to auto create table. And here I want the same schema, DBO, and this one is Adventure Works Parquet. Okay, and this is pretty much it. We are done. All I have to do is connect on completion the third stage to the fourth stage. So let's validate this, see if there are any problems. Please select connection for staging. All right, so here we don't have staging. We do we have it here? Staging connection. Oh yeah, here we don't need staging. Okay, so this is a little bit confusing, I know. Here we don't need staging. In these two stages we do need it, so let's validate it. Load parquet sync must be binary when source is in binary dataset. So load parquet into warehouse. Let's have a look. Sync must be binary. File path. All right. The problem was I didn't pick the right file format, so I have to tell it that this is parquet as well. I missed this part. Okay, so let's click again, validate. Direct copying data into data warehouse using copy command is not supported for specified source. Please enable staging. Okay, enable staging. Let's have a look now. Validate. Okay, look at this. We have this intelligent guide telling me what was still wrong in my pipeline, and look how quickly I fixed it, and I validated it now. Now it should just run, right? So let's run this. Let's not waste any time. I'm gonna run it. Save and run. Okay, let's have a look. I'm refreshing. Okay, so the first one is queued. It should be running in a second. Okay, it is now in progress. So I will pause and see if everything ran, and then I'm going to start recording again and show you what happened. Okay, so the first stage is done, and we are now in the second stage, which is the transformation of the lakehouse table to the transformed lakehouse table to the warehouse distribution. So now we are loading the data into the warehouse. Okay, and that is done as well. So let's have a quick look in between. 1 minute and 30 is the time the data flow took. 41 seconds is the data distribution took. So the flow took from taking the data. Okay, and we are already in the next stage. So 15 seconds to create the parquet file. And now we are loading the parquet file into the warehouse. So now the parquet file was created, even though that wasn't there. We defined the name to take it from A to B, even though it wasn't there yet. And since it is all happening sequentially, it should work, right? So let's have a look at this. Okay, and we have success. So this is great news. Okay, so you saw how from the data validation we ran into success in absolute no time. Absolute fantastic. So let's go have a look at the lake house to see if the Parquet file is there. Go on files and we can see the Parquet file. Again, the type isn't defined. This doesn't work yet, but the AdventureWorks warehouse should have both tables already and transformed. And yes, we do. Look at this. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped you. I hope you got a good insight into what Fabric can do. We have the first touch points with Fabric in this tutorial. This is the first tutorial about Fabric I'm doing. I will be doing more, so make sure to subscribe, to turn on your notifications, and to stay tuned for the next videos to come. Thank you very much for watching.